Shabbat Shalom. Sorry, I'm running a little late. Usually I'm right on time. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer, and I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. It's really great to see everyone. Who can I see? Emily and Kathy. And that's it for right now. And we have, of course, I'm talking about online, and we have tough crowd. And we have Tina, David, and Irene joining us. And there's Charles. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. We are praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem. There it is. Virginia says no picture. She's correct, because I forgot to turn it over. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom, Virginia. Thank you for keeping me straight. Somebody should. Anyway, we will begin tonight's service, page 5, with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 11, Psalm 95. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Nariya, nariya, letzor yishenu, nekad mafana betoda. Nariya, nariya, letzor yishenu, bizmirot nariya lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Nariya, nariya, letzor yishenu, nekad mafana betoda. Nariya, nariya, letzor yishenu, bizmirot nariya lo. Please join me in the English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands formed the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai who formed us. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice, and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like the time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my ways, so in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Arba'im shanakut bedor va'omaram to'eh levavim v'hem lo yad rachai asher nishmati v'yapi im yavaon Menuchati, page 13. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, Shiru ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru ladonai baruch shemo, Basru meyom leyom Yeshuato, Sapru vagoyim kivodo, Bechol amim nifliotov, Ki gadol Adonai, O mehulal miyod, Norahu, Alko Elohim, Lai Lai Lai, Kiko Elohe Amim Belilim, Vadonai Shamayim Asa, Had Vehadar Lefanav, Oz V'Tiferet B'Mikdasho, Havu Ladonai Mishpachot Amim, Havu Ladonai Kavod Vos, Havu Ladonai Ke'evod Shemo, Seu Mincha, Uvahu Lechadzro, Dablai Lai Lai, Shtachavu Ladonai, Behadrat Kodesh, Chilum Mipanav Kol Haaretz, Imrum Vagoyim, Adonai Malach, Aptikum Tevel Balatimot, Yadinamim B'mei Shaharim, Yismechu Hashamayim V'tagil Haaretz, Ayiram Mayamu Melo, Yalo Sadai, Vechol Asher Bo Lai Lai Lai, Azirananu Kolat Seyar, Lifnei Adonai Kiva, Kiva Lishpot Haaretz, Yishpot Tevel B'tzedek, V'yamim B'emunato, Yalai Lai Lai Lai, Yalai Lai Lai, Ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai. We continue page 15. Let me see if I can do this. David, would you like to come up and stand here and read this responsively? And I will turn the microphone on. I will change. We're trying something different. I know nobody likes different, but no, go ahead.
So I go over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Page 15. Please join David responsibly.
Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, the many distant lands rejoice.
Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine. Righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about.
Flashes of lightning illumine the land. The earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the Master of all the earth.
The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory.
Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God.
Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment.
You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine.
Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful.
Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name.
Or Zarula Tzadik will Israel have Simcha, Simchu Tzadikim Badonai, Vahodu Lezecher Kadesho. Thank you very much, David. Let me make sure I turn the cam back. Okay, thank you. That worked. Page 17, Psalm 98. Mizmor Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Ki Niflot Asa Hoshia Lo Yemino Ozaro Akod Shuadia Adonai Yeshuato Le'ana Goyim Gilad Sid Kato Zacha Chasta Ve'emunato Levei Yisrael, Ra'u Cholav Se'aretz, Et Yeshuat Eloheinu, Horiu Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Pitzchum Veranenu V'zameru, Zamru Ladonai Bechinar, Bechinar V'kol Zimara, Bechatzot Rod V'kol Shofar, Horiu Lifnei Melech Adonai, Yiram Hayam Umalo, Tevel V'yoshveva, Neharot Yimchau Chaf, Yachad Arim Yiranenu, Lifnei Adonai Kiva, Lishbot Haaretz, Lishbot Tevel B'tzedek, Ve'yamim b'meisharim, Yallai, Yallai, la 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 la, Yallai, la 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 la, Yallai, la 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 la, Yallai, la 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 la, Yai la 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 la, Yallai la 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 la, Yallai la 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 la. Yai lai 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 lai. You thank you. Nice to see you, Betty and Barbara. We now have exceeded by one the number of people in our sanctuary from last week. This is great, and we're on target for maybe having more than we had online last week too. Page 19. Psalm 99. Adonai reigns, nations tremble. The one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake. Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, all-inspiring, Holy One. A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly. Exalt Adonai, our God. Bow down before God, the Holy One. Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among those who called upon the divine name, called to you, and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst the cloud. They kept your covenant and the law you gave them. You answered them, Adonai, our God. You are a forgiving God to them, even as you punish them for their transgressions. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down at God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. Page 21, please rise if you are able. Mizmor leDavid, havu ladonai b'nei Elim, havu ladonai kavod vos, havu ladonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el kavod hirim Adonai omayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, v'yishaber Adonai et ozei halvanon, v'yarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo ven rehemim, Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholeo ayalot, Vayechasot yarod, Uvehechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Yeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amu yitet, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. You may be seated. And we continue, page 23. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmi'anu elam yuchad. Adonai echad. Ushemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litila Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha ki mikor abiracha merosh mikedem nesucha sov maseh b'machshvat chila lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzi mitocha hafecha ravlach shevet בימך וחבו יחמו עלייכם לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי היד בן ישי בית הלחמי קרבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת Kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela hitoreri kiva ore kumi ori shir daberi kivod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela Chadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela lo tevoshi v'lo tikami ma tishtochachi u'ma tehemi bach yechasu ani yamni v'nivneta ir al tila lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela v'hayu l'mshisa shahu asayich v'rachakuko mihivalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimchas chatan al kala lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela yamin usmo Tifronti v'yet Adonai Taritzi Ayadish Ben Parti V'nismecha V'nagila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Nikabila. We rise as we turn to the last stanza of L'chadudi and we face towards the west to greet the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzala toch emunai am segula boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabila. You may be seated. We continue page 27 with Psalm 92. A psalm, the song of the day of Shabbat, it is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your words, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies shall perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no flaw. Tzadik Tamar Ifrach Ge'erez Balvanon Yiske Shetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva Deshenim Verananim Yeyu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri Loav Latabom, page 29, Psalm 93. Adonai is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you are enthroned, you are eternal. The rivers rise up, Adonai, the rivers raise up their roar. The rivers raise up their waves. Above the roar of the vast sea and the majestic breakers of the ocean, Adonai stands supreme in the heavens. In your house, beautiful in its holiness, your testimonies endure, Adonai, for all time. Again, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all of those that have joined us for this Kabbalat Shabbat, both in our sanctuary. We have 6. We are getting really close to actually having a physical minyan. Of course, if we count all the people online, we have 2 minyans. So this is really, really good. Before I talk about what I wanted to talk about, I want to say a few words. I will not be here next Shabbat. I will be at Ramat Darom for Limud, but Cantor Schwartz will be here, and he will be here in person and will run our online service. So I hope that all of you will come back next week. Cantor Schwartz will actually be here the following week as well, because we are going to have an in-person Chinese dinner. I don't know how you do it, online dinner, but we're going to have a Chinese dinner that's going to be brought in from Chai Peking, from Kroger's in Toco Hills in Atlanta. They're great. They're absolutely wonderful. Please call and leave a message for Linda in the office or email to let her know if you plan on coming, so we make sure we get enough dinners. Of course, we would love to see this entire sanctuary filled. And Cantor Schwartz will actually be singing during dinner, which will be at 5. Dinner will be before services. They'll be at 5, and the services will follow at 6. Yeah, that's probably enough. One of my favorite jokes. President of the congregation went to visit the rabbi in the hospital who had just suffered a mild heart attack. Very excited, he approaches the rabbi. Rabbi says, "I have great news. The board just voted 12-8 to wish you a speedy recovery." I don't know why that's so funny. At least it was a majority. This week's Torah portion is called Re'eh and gives us out a powerful biblical lesson in personal motivation and success. We also have here the source of the notion of free will. God tells us at the very beginning of the portion in Deuteronomy 11, verses 26 to 28, it says, Re'anochi notem lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. See, this day I set before you blessing and curse. Et habracha asher tishma'u el mitzvot Adonai Elohechem, asher anochi mitzvatechem hayom. Blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I enjoin upon you this day. V'haklala im lo tishma'u el mitzvot Adonai Elohechem, v'sartem min haderech asher anochi mitzvatechem hayom, lalechet acharei Elohim acherim asher lo yadatem. And a curse if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn away from the path that I enjoin you this day, and follow other gods whom you have not experienced. The Vilna Gaon, one of the greatest Jewish minds in the past several hundred years, explains that there is a reason I set before you is written in the present tense and not the past. I have set before you, as we might have expected. The book of Deuteronomy is a 33-day rant by Moses to the Israelites as they are waiting by the banks of the Jordan, poised to go into Canaan and take control of the land. Moses is recalling the past 40 years wanderings of the Israelites in the Sinai following their exodus from Egypt, where they were enslaved for 400 years. Moses recalls all the times that this generation's ancestors failed to live up to high expectations of God. But at this point, Moses pauses his review of the past and gives a message to the current generation. We cannot change the past, but we can affect the present and the future. Moses is using an example of what happened in the past that resulted in such sores, such problems, that resulted from poor choices being made by this generation's parents and grandparents. This present tense text, see, this day I set before you blessing and curse, is to teach that God continually gives us choices each and every day of our lives. In fact, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, we are given the choice of filling our lives with blessings or curses. I believe that the quality of our lives is directly a reflection of the choices we make. Every decision we take, every choice we make either brings more blessing into our lives and into the world, or diminishes the holiness of the world in which we live and our own spirits. It is totally up to us. In fact, even when it appears that our lives are not in our own hands, circumstances arise that challenge our sense of control and personal power. Even then, it is ultimately up to us. That control we often feel that pulls us in certain directions, seemingly not of our own volition, is a learned response. We are a product of every experience we have ever had from birth. Every person has a unique take on life because their paths have been different. That path dictates our future behavior, since we often don't like to repeat things that harm us or cause us pain. An alcoholic finds it hard to stop drinking because the last time he or she tried to stop, the pain was so large that it makes it harder and harder to even try to stop. The past dictates our future behavior and causes us to think we don't have free will. But God sets before us a blessing and a curse. To choose the blessing is not always the easiest path. It could also be the one with the most pain. But the rewards of suffering through that pain is freedom. freedom from the past, and the freedom to make a better tomorrow. The past is just that, the past. We are not trapped forever by our past choices or our past behaviors. Why would we need a Yom Kippur if that were the case? Instead, we have a choice each and every day to break the chains of the past and set a new course free of the fetters holding us to the old ways. We should say yes to blessing, and yes to that which is holy, and yes to that which brings more goodness into our lives and relationships. This is a great message to hear this weekend as we begin the last month of the Jewish year, Elul. Elul is a 30-day period of introspection meant for each of us to review the past year and begin making amends to those that we have hurt with our past bad decisions. This also gives us an opportunity to amend our ways to prevent us from repeating these bad choices. The Hebrew letters of Elul are Aleph, Lamed, Vav, and Lamed, which is also an acronym for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. Elul is a chance to renew our relationships with those that mean the most to us and to enter the high holidays, which begins tonight, actually, because this is the first of the month of Elul, and it starts in a spirit of love and renewal. After our Monday and Thursday services during Elul beginning this Monday, I will blow the shofar as a reminder for us to continue that process of repentance. At the end of the month, on Saturday night, September 17th, at 7:30 p.m., we will gather to recite Slichot, a set of penitential prayers to help us focus our efforts towards teshuvah or repentance. And let me also take a moment and say that Rosh Hashanah will begin Sunday night, September 25th. So let Irene and I wish all of you a very early but timely L'Shana Tova, a happy high holiday season. Shabbat Shalom. And we will continue our service with Ma'ariv. Ask everyone to please rise. Page 39A for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'dvaro U'mahavir yom u'mevi laila mavdil ben yom u'vein laila Adonai tzavaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu lam v'oed baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim. Page 40. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu v'kumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ועבדך תשים ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ho'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinanatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachpecha v'kumecha u'kshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotofot b'neinecha u'chtavtam nam zuzot beitecha uv'hisharecha v'haya'im shemo tishma'u el mitzvotai. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta lehem v'yasu lehem tzitzit al kanfei vignehem ledoratam v'natnu al tzitzit takana petiol techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit oritem oto uschartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo tatu racharei levavachem v'yacharei nechem asher tem zonim achareihem leman dizgaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etechem meretz Mitzrayim liot lachem leElohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet, page 43a. Ve'emunot kozot l'kayim. Page 44. U'malchut abratzon gibalehem Moshe v'niyaschalach nishira b'simcha rabba v'yamaru chulam mi chamahocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamahocha nedor b'kodesh naharati lot osefele malchutecha u'vanecha bo kiyam lifnei Moshe Zeli anu v'yameru Adonai imloch le'olam voed v'ne'emar kivad Adonai et Yaakov u'galod miad chazak mimenu baruch et Adonai ka'al Yisrael. Page 45. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ushmotzeitenu vein l'chaim u'shalom yatav yalolam b'fos l'nuskat shlomecha baruch et Adonai haporet sukat shalom aleinu v'yal kol amo Yisrael v'yal Yerushalayim. We turn to page 46 and we rise if you are able. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat La'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barito la v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barito lam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barito lam כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. We continue with the silent Amidah, pages 47 through 52. This is a time as we begin Elul for our personal introspection. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol Shalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol et uvechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. And we rise as the ark is open for Aleinu, page 56. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרמים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו וזולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד על כן דברינו ליומי בדיבר זכר גגדו בתורתך אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. You may be seated. This week, we will observe yard sites for Robert Orange, Walter Brenner, Blanche Katz, Herman Miller, Nace Varon, Helene Brenner, Louis Held, Joseph Salama, David Brenner, Jenny Herzberg, Eleanor Martin, Samuel Beaton, Julius Brenner, and Sadie Franco. Those observing yard site and those who mourn, please rise and join me. Page 58, the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash me rabba, v'yalma divrach chirutei, v'yamlech malchutei, v'chayichon v'yamechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalav izman kariv yimeru amen, yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'elam omel maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei d'kudisham barichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da miran b'yoma v'yimeru amen, yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. You may be seated. I hadn't actually noticed the yard site list this week contains many names, but three in particular that are very personal. Robert Orange, who I visited many times, troubled physically, but a delightful human being. I loved every time I visited him. And of course, Walter. How can we forget Walter? How can we even think about Walter and not smile? What a wonderful human being. And also on that list was Helene Brenner, who was married to Walter. Helene actually was the second funeral that I did as your rabbi here in Montgomery in 2007. And I just remember visiting her in the hospital. And she wanted me to give her a blessing. And I just remember her, she crossed her arms and she closed her eyes and waited for me. I will remember that forever. So may their memory always be for a blessing. Shabbat Shalom, thank you for joining us this evening. It's great that we have a mighty six in our congregation. I'm hoping that we can double and triple that, certainly in 2 weeks when we have our dinner. I expect to see many, many times this number. We are not delivering dinner, by the way. You have to come here to get it, and you have to stay for services. Even though we're going to eat before services, you still have to stay. And of course, Chaz and Neil, Cantor Neil Schwartz will also be with us that evening. So it's going to be a double blessing. As we head into the high holiday season, beginning with, as I mentioned, Slichot on Saturday night, I think September 17th. We also look forward to Chaz and Charles joining our congregation. He is actually going to be here for a total of 3 Shabbatot. He's coming, I think September, correct me, Charles, September 17th is your 62nd birthday, is that correct? And that's on Slichot. I think you're going to be here for that, is that right? He's online, he can tell me if I got that right or wrong. Of course, we look forward to having him here, leading services, and of course, co-leading high holiday services, which this year will be truly hybrid. We will be online, but fully open. Charles says, why? What? And maybe that was a yes. But I truly would like to invite all of those that are within driving distance to consider joining us in person for the high holidays. Even though we are not truly done with the pandemic yet, we have a large sanctuary. If you choose to be masked, please be masked. If you choose to remain distant from everyone, please be distant. But it would just be nice to see live faces in our sanctuary. And I'm sure Charles agrees with me. With that, I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, and we will conclude our service on page 211. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'enasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol leva hado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh Vehu yeh betifara, vehu yeh betifara, vehu echad v'ein sheni laham, shelo lehachbira, beli reshit, v'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, vehu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor, Chevlim b'yetzara, v'hu nisi umanosli, minat kosi b'yom mekra, minat kosi b'yom mekra, Biyado afkid ruchi biyet ishan v'yaira v'imaruchi giviyati Adonai li v'lo ira v'lo Adonai li v'lo ira. And one thing I did forget to mention, tomorrow night for Havdalah, we will be not only via Zoom, but in person. Dahlia Road will be here with us live on our sanctuary. So if you would like to come and hear Miriam and Toria in person sing to us, you're more than welcome to join us for Havdalah tomorrow at 8 p.m. Toria and Miriam, as Dahlia Road, will be putting out an album very soon. They're in Montgomery recording. I think this is their last recording session. And their album will be out soon. And I'm promised by Tori and Miriam that they are going to do a pre-CD tour, including Montgomery. So we look forward to that. Shabbat Shalom.